Hi everyone. Hi everyone. Here we are with chapter 11 in BU 251 Marketing 2, also called Consumer Behavior. And we are going to talk about consumers and situations. So how is it that depending upon where someone is or what's going on at the time, how does that impact their purchase? So there's a few different learning outcomes, well, 6 to be exact. Understand how value series varies with situations. Know the different ways that time affects consumer behavior. Analyze shopping as a consumer activity using the different categories of shopping activities. Distinguish the concepts of unplanned, impulse, and compulsive consumer behavior. And use the concept of atmospherics to create consumer value and understand what is meant by anecdotal conditions. So there are a few things that are going to influence, in terms of the situation, what's going to influence someone's response to shopping. And I think that you know that when you go out, depending upon how much time you have or what the situation is or how much money you have or what kind of stress you might be or like stress, level of stress, very calm, or maybe, some things that are, you're anxious to get taken care of, is going to influence things. So some types of temporary conditions, what's going on, and what's going on at the moment. Independent and enduring consumer brand or product characteristics. So essentially, effective, independent, or of enduring consumer brand or product characteristics. Essentially, your relationship with the brand itself. And this whole idea of consumer decision making. So how is it that you went through the decision? How is it that you made the decision, or with whom you made the decision? How is that going to eventually influence the value you feel? So some situational influences that can exist: time, depending upon how much time you have, discretionary time, free time, if you will. Conditions, how much money you may have, how much you can afford something. The less you can afford something, the more quality you want. And place, what's the environment like? We're going to talk about place a little bit later on as well. So time and consumer behavior, what's going on, how you feel. Everyone has different feelings about time. And everybody manages time differently. And there are, and how much time someone has might, the whole idea is to create value, and how much time someone has might influence the perception of the value of the product. And it depends upon, sometimes the time of year, going Christmas shopping on December 20th versus, November 1st, that kind of thing. So, or, buying dinner when you're hungry, that, going to the grocery store and you're hungry, those kinds of things influence the time and the situation. So that any kind of situational characteristic related to time. Okay, so time pressure and seasonality. So again, if you don't have a lot of time, I think we've made this point clear. If you don't have a lot of time, you don't have as much time to process information, or you process less information if you're in a rush. You really can't think about it. And you sometimes fall back on habits like, I know I need a new kind of shampoo, but I just don't have time to figure out and research kinds of shampoos, so I'm just going to get what I can. And you can go from getting something that's what we've talked about, hedonic and utilitarian value. So hedonic meaning something for pleasure, utilitarian, perfect, specifically functional. Then you can really switch into like a utilitarian mode. And then also this idea of seasonality. Fashion changes, what we need to wear changes. Here in Western New York, what you wear in May is different than what you wear in November, and even what you wear in July. So, or the time of year, whether you're in school or you're not in school, you're on vacation, that kind of thing. And then also food items will also change throughout the season, depending upon what's popular at different times of the year. Also, spare time. So if you have a lot of spare time, you tend to, you have more time to, say, cook your dinner, for example, which would be utilitarian. Whereas going out would be hedonic value. So you're buying prepared foods, that kind of thing. And then also there are certain things, we talk about circadian rhythms. It's how we sleep. Talk about the circadian rhythm is influenced by light And so the time of day, we're all oriented. We live in a sun up to sundown world. Not everyone necessarily. That's how the norm is. Not everyone necessarily lives that way because of their job or their family situation. But generally speaking, we live in this sun up to sundown world. So it's called the circadian rhythm, which is best to the way we physically work. So that can influence what we purchase. When based on the time of day, when we're hungry, that kind of thing. Reproduction cycles. Okay, advertising is this idea is that advertisers buy ads when customers will be most receptive to the message. So they're going to have ads for coffee and breakfast things early in the day. They're going to have ads for Christmas decorations and snow blowers and that kind of thing in the fall, closer to the holiday season. So and then this idea is that it's repetition. You'll start to see in the springtime there'll be ads for building a deck, or putting in a pool, or getting an awning, that kind of thing. That's kind of thing that it's the timing of it. Okay, so let's talk about shopping. So again, this idea of shopping is you want to produce value for the customer or the consumer, and then the more value, the more likely that someone's going to make a purchase. So to a certain extent, it's the opposite of marketing. That marketing, they're telling you things, but I think that producing, having activities that will induce you to buy and create value is also a type of marketing. So if you think about it in that way, that all shopping activities is part of what the consumer does, what the marketer does, or the organization or the firm does, is all part of increasing the value and leading to a purchase. So the idea of shopping, so this idea that shopping on the internet is available 24/7, and you can do it anytime at your own time. And this whole idea of smart agent software is very important. It's the idea that it's basically tracking, using cookies and that kind of thing to track the algorithms they use to know what it is that you're going to be interested in looking at. So there are issues in terms of privacy and that kind of thing, but that's what we have today. So there's different types of shopping activities: acquisitional shopping, epistemic shopping, experiential shopping, and finally impulsive shopping. So acquisitional shopping is this idea you're going out to buy a specific item, a washing machine, a dryer. I'm going out to get XYZ. I'm going out to get milk and butter and cheese, or fruits and vegetables and tofu or whatever. So epistemic shopping is this idea that you are going out and learning about products. So maybe you're looking for a specific outfit for a big party you're going to. You're going to try on a variety of different outfits, or you're going to go test drive different kinds of cars, or you're going to go look at that we were talking about, the washing machine and the dryer. You're going to look for different types of washing machines and dryers and expect them out. So trying to understand better about the product. Experiential shopping is this idea that is a hobby. Shopping is a hobby. Shopping is something to do. It's a way, spend your Saturday afternoon at the mall, or going up and down a strip of streets that, a street where there's a variety of different shops available. I'm sorry about the siren outside. So that's experiential shopping. It's just for the fun of it, as I said, like a hobby or sport. Then impulsive shopping is some sort of immediate self-fulfillment, sometimes you refer to it even as retail therapy, making yourself feel better, buying something in that regard. Or, just because, you think you need to get it or someone else is getting it. So here we go, acquisitional, epistemic, experiential, some examples for you to look at. Some are utilitarian, some are more hedonic. So out shopping is this idea that shopping basically not when you're not home. And oftentimes, I think you've experienced this when you're on vacation or you're away or something, or you might buy things that you might not normally buy just because you're away and it's your vacation and you're thinking about it. So you might order something different on a menu, or you might get that T-shirt that you never would have bought when you were home. That's the idea of out shopping. out of your own environment. Okay, then this whole idea of personal shopping value. Utilitarian shopping value is the idea is that it's you've completed a task, you're looking for a job to get done. And whereas hedonic is this idea because you have some sort of personal satisfaction with it. So that's what are you looking for? What's your personal shopping value? Do you want something that's utilitarian? You're buying food for dinner to, not anything very fancy, or hedonic is it to like some sort of experience and going to a special store and that kind of stuff. So every store also has this idea of a retail personality. Yeah, I think you can look at this, locally, certainly in terms of Western New York and other parts of Canada and border towns like ours that look the difference between, say, a Starbucks and a Tim Hortons. So what are the functional and the affective qualities? So what's the personality of the store? What's the vibe that you get when you walk in? Is it calm and soothing? Is it, is it very like utilitarian and basic? Is there, what's the vibe that's going on? So functional quality, retail positioning that emphasizes tangible things like a wide selection of goods, low prices, and guarantees. So, Walmart, Kohl's, Target, Wegmans, Tops. Or affective quality, retail positioning that emphasizes a unique environment and exciting decor. So maybe, the Whole Foods tries for that. So the functional quality, you could say, would be Tim Hortons would be a functional quality, and affective quality would be more looking, say, at a place like Starbucks. So what is the personality? When you think about that, next time you go to a store, think about what is the personality of this store? I mean, what's it like in there? We're going to talk more about that, but a little bit later. Okay, so impulsive behavior versus unplanned behavior. You want to think about that. So this idea of you're looking for immediate rewards, essentially. Unplanned behavior is that something like you need something, and usually often it tends to be, they're both are spontaneous, but it tends to be a little bit more utilitarian, like you forget that you needed something to add something to your to it, whereas to whatever other shopping items you're taking care of. Whereas impulsive behavior is just you're just doing it, like you just like impulsively buy that like pair of running shoes that you don't really think about it, you just do it. Or you buy with the picture and the illustration, you buy a cake or a candy bar or something like that. So this idea of impulsive versus unplanned. Both are spontaneous. One is hedonic, the other one is utilitarian. Okay, so again, impulsivity, personality traits that affect a consumer's unplanned or impulsive behavior. Some people just are impulsive, and they really want that short-term gratification. And the idea is that for your financial health, you want someone to have some sort of level of self-regulation. So action-oriented are consumers with a high capacity to self-regulate, like, oh, I really want to buy that cake. It looks so good. But state-oriented are, the action-oriented person are like, nope, I can't get that because I'm trying to watch my weight or sugar or whatever. State-oriented are consumers with a low capacity to self-regulate their behaviors. They just go out and they buy, whether it be some sort of unhealthy food or clothing or something they can't afford or don't need. So again, if you were to try to distinguish low from high self-regulatory capacity, so action-oriented consumers versus state-oriented consumers, the people who work at home, the action-oriented would get started right away and be organized, try to get on top of it. The state-oriented will be like, no, I'm going to do that later, maybe put it off a little while. So again, you can go down all these different situations. Okay, retail approaches aimed at encouraging impulse purchases. So marketers know that there are people out there who love to buy things impulsively. We all buy things impulsively. There's no doubt about that. Like, you just can't get around that. So this idea that there are retail approaches that are aimed at encouraging impulse buyers, and merchandisers take care of that. So putting, the peanut butter with the jelly, or putting, cake mixes with frosting, or in a retail store showing a great pair of shoes with a nice dress or something like that. So having an emotionally charged add-on, encouraging add-on purchases. Sometimes you'll see that as a service. People will try to get that to buy extra services or something like that. Can I show you a belt to go with those pants that you are trying on? So making things easy to buy. So making things very accessible, that kind of thing. Having a discount. All those kinds of things. Marketers know what they're doing. People get degrees in merchandising, and they know how to display things in a store to get you to buy them. Okay, so compulsive consumer behavior can be really almost like a byproduct of a mental illness. It can be really harmful in terms of hoarding, your financial health, that kind of thing. You can get to a point where your possessions own you. You don't own your possessions. Sometimes it's out of control. Sometimes, as I said, it's driven by mental health issues. So compulsive consumer behavior is definitely a concern, and is something that is becoming more of a concern in our country in the late 20th and early 21st century. So atmospherics. What is atmospherics? What the whole all like as I was talking about, what's the vibe you get when you're in a store? So what are the feelings created by the complete attributes of the physical environment? So when you walk into Pottery Barn, how do you feel? When you walk into Wegmans, how do you feel versus walking into Tops, that kind of thing? And what kind of services are available to you? So going to Wegmans versus going to Aldi. Aldi has great products, but it's very basic. Whereas at Wegmans, you go to Wegmans, they'll cut things. Things are custom cut for you. If you go to the deli counter, or you can pick out your own produce. It's not all bagged, that kind of stuff. So what's the atmosphere like, and what are the services that are available? These all play a role in people's response to a company, to their shopping experience. So functional, again, we go to talk about functional and affective quality. Knowledgeable employees. The functional is the idea of knowledgeable employees, prices, selection, and convenience of the shop, convenience of the store, including everything from parking to hours and location. And then the affective quality is this idea of how friendly the employees are, the colors, the lights, the music, the odors. What does it smell good when you walk in there? Are they burning nice candles, or do they have or are they baking a pie or something like that? How bright are the lights? How pleasant is the music to you? Do you find the music pleasant? How loud is the music? The right sound level to you, and for you to enjoy it, that kind of thing. What kind of brands do they sell? What are the other shoppers like? Are there a lot of other shoppers? Are there people that you relate to? Are they people that you think, I don't want to be like these people? I don't have anything in common with these people. So how easy is it to move around? All those kinds of things. So all of those together impact and impact the atmosphere. So the idea too is that you want to make sure that you have are the elements of the environment, do they fit into the industry, and do they fit into the brand of the company? So in terms of tidiness and cleanliness, and amount of space there is in the displays, that kind of thing, and how consistent. Not only does it fit in with the environment and the brand of this company, but also how consistent are the elements with one another. So do they have is it a place that sells very hip modern items, and they're playing music that maybe is sort of like cheesy bad music? Is it a health food store, but maybe the floors are dirty, that kind of thing? So does it all fit together? You go into some stores and it just it all kind of works. It makes sense. Is it got a homey atmosphere? Does it have a sleek, sophisticated atmosphere? All those kinds of things. So it has to. If things aren't, there's no congruity, or things aren't all matching, that sends a message. So again, we talked about this a while ago. So odors, music, color, lighting, merchandising, social setting. Again, think about stores you may go into. You store in individual stores or stores in the mall and that kind of thing. All of these things play into our experience. And certainly, odor is one thing that's smell. The five senses. This hits on the five senses, and smell is the most has our longest memory, and we remember. It can calm us, it can repel us, it can bring back fond memories, it can bring back bad memories. So, as I said, the music, the type of music, the level of the sound, the color of the store, how bright it is, that kind of thing. Merchandising, how things are displayed, social setting, the people that are there. So, generally speaking, so we look at like hedonic shopping value. So if it's super crowded, people might feel a little bit more of a rush when they're there. Extremely crowded, not so much. So you want to think about that. This idea of a number of people in a store can be very positive and can be very negative, and it can also depend upon your own people's own personal preference as well. Okay, that's that chart back there is sort of like just an average. Okay, so antecedent conditions are things that people bring to processing information and making a decision about what they're going to buy. So, how much money you have, what kind of mood you're in, how secure you feel at the moment, what your orientation is in terms of the product or the shopping in general. All those things make a difference. So that's this idea of situational. So what is a situation, both internal and external situation, when you're purchasing something? And just to wrap it up, situational influences time, condition, and place affect value, the value you get from it, feel from it. Time can affect someone's in form of time pressure, time of year, time of day. Types of shopping activities: acquisitional, epistemic, experiential, and impulsive. We talked over that. And then also atmospheric conditions include odors, colors, and antecedent conditions that include economic resources and your mood. So that's a wrap for Chapter 11. And we'll see you back here for Chapter 12. Thanks.